The most exciting part is just being able to take the past year's worth of learning and being able to translate it into practice, into the foundation of our professionalism. There's some unease to it as well, thinking, I'm only a year into this. Are we sure? Are we sure we're ready? I think one thing that this program does really well is balance reflection with application of understanding why this is important, but also being able to execute it in practice.
You're listening to Mentor Moments, where we talk about all things counseling, technology, education, and career development. I'm Braden Wooters, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Michael Keener. Grab a seat, and let's get started. Okay, welcome to another episode of Mentor Moments. My name is Braden Wooters.
And I am Mike Keener.
I am Cadie Buschjost.
She saved us the embarrassment
We were practicing Cadie Buschjost. So I thought that's
terrific.
My fear, my greatest fear. Not that I want to be dean, but at Maryville, the dean has to read all the names of graduation. And that was enough for me not to say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have all these families leaving me voicemails on how badly I did not pronounce their name correctly.
Scary. Very scary. Cadie, have you ever been on a podcast before?
I have not.
And
First time for everything.
Ours to be first. We're honored. Really honored.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Cadie, where are you calling in from?
I am live from Maryville University's campus, actually. I still live on campus as a graduate student, so I am in my apartment.
Maryville has apartments.
They do.
I forget that. I forget that all the time. Have you
They
been
do indeed.
Have you been in the apartments all 4 years? All 3?
Funny enough, I lived in Saints Hall, one of our residence halls, my freshman year, and then I commuted my sophomore and junior year, and then I ended up moving back on campus my senior year, and I'll be here throughout grad school as well.
You'll live on campus for grad school. That's really cool.
Yeah, I am the graduate assistant for residential life here, and that just happens to be one of the perks.
That makes sense. I think I'm trying to remember who the last ones were. The last GAs for our Res Life.
Most recently, Holly Bukesky she is my co-op, and then Ami was another one, or maybe Darian, Christina. There's been a few.
Yeah, because we had, I forget if Jen Susnick was a GA or not.
Yes, for a little bit, I believe so.
Yeah, because Jen and I worked together here at Lindenwood.
Awesome.
She just left. Anyway.
Did you live on campus, Braden? You must. Well, you must. Well, you could. Or having an apartment, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure the rules are still the same, which is that freshmen have to live on campus. They have to live in the dorms. As far as that's not the case anymore.
I don't think it ever was.
What?
I think somebody just sold you a bill of sales. That's never the case. Freshmen have to live.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, God, now I feel old. But yeah, no. So I was at Maryville whenever we were required. So I lived in Potter, but I spent all my friends lived in Mouton. So I spent most of my time in Mouton. But then after that, I lived off campus for the rest of my time. So a couple of buddies and I got an apartment off campus, and that's where we lived together for 6 years. So that's kind of what we ended up doing. Anyway, for our listeners,
Potter Hall too, Brayton.
Wait, say that again?
I stayed at Potter Hall too, and it was still a hotel.
Did not.
I did. That's when I interviewed at Maryville. That's where they put me. That's where they booked my room at the Courtyard Marriott.
But that was back whenever it was still a hotel, right?
Right.
Okay, got it.
But that was my Res Life experience at Maryville.
I fondly remember whenever Saints Hall got flooded. Do you remember that year?
Yes, that was a rough one.
That was bad. Mess. Oh, God. Anyway, for our listeners that are just tuning in and haven't already figured it out, Cadie is a Maryville student and currently a grad student. Where do we begin? What do we need to know about you, Cadie? Maybe that's a bit of a loaded question.
I graduated with my bachelor's degree from Maryville in May this past year with a dual psych-soc degree with an English minor. I'm originally from Jefferson City, so I'm about 2 hours from home here. This program, Maryville's clinical mental health counseling program, felt like fate. I was kind of unsure about next steps, and then I'd applied to some other programs, and then I heard word that Maryville's was opening up, and I was like, well, might as well stick around. So here I am.
Might as well stick around.
Let's do it. Stick around.
How did you, I mean, I feel like careers and knowing what you want to do and knowing like what education you want to go into and majors, that's just such a messy experience and it changes and flows all the time. What was your kind of experience like?
To be totally honest, I didn't have a lot of career guidance throughout high school. And I actually transferred to a different high school for my senior year. So I was kind of starting from scratch in a sense. And it wasn't until I transferred that I took my first psychology course and I immediately fell in love. I feel like it's kind of a cliche story. We hear it a lot, but it's true. I fell in love and I knew I wanted to pursue. I knew that's what I wanted to do. So when I got to Maryville, I was just a psychology major. And it wasn't until maybe the spring semester of my freshman year that I had changed it to a dual degree because I took one sociology course and was like, well, you can't just get one piece of the pie. So then through, as much writing as you do in undergrad, especially being a soc major, I picked up an English minor. I love writing. I tutor for writing here at Maryville. So I really picked up the pace by my sophomore year.
Cadie, do you know Jeremiah Larson?
I do. We have been tutoring actually for the exact same period of time. We started at the same time. We've gone through it together.
Can I show you something?
Absolutely.
I know.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Worlds collide.
That is,
my buddy.
look at
After
that.
he became an All-American, if you didn't know.
Yes. Yeah, he would always show up to tutoring meetings with black eyes and all sorts of bruises. There you go.
It got
that's
even
awesome.
more. Have you seen? He bought himself a dog, or got himself a dog after winning.
That's awesome.
American. So this is Dolly, and
that's adorable.
He's joining our podcast next week. So Brayton, you
wow,
get to.
That is awesome.
We can talk about you next week, Cadie. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yes. Jeremiah is great.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I got through. I was junior year of undergrad, and I was really interested in research. That's kind of where I thought my career was going to lead to, as research being my focus. And then my very last semester of my senior year, I took the undergraduate counseling course with Dr. Brittany Robinson, and that was it. I was like, yep, this feels right. And then within probably 3 months, Maryville's new program opened. So I was like, yep, this is it. This is meant to be.
This feels just so similar because I remember I had that exact same class with her, and I was like, oh, you're so cool. Like, you've got a good sense of humor. Like,
yes.
she was just so cool. I was like, oh, wow.
Yes.
I want to know a little bit more. I mean, it feels like a simple thing of like, duh, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. But were there parts of it that really appealed to you? Was there like a specific week or like lecture that you listened to that made you go, okay, this is definitely something that I want to pursue?
I think honestly, it was the conversation about motivational interviewing. We were introduced to some of the techniques and the focuses of those strategies, and there was a sense of fulfillment that I really was able to envision for myself in working in this field, and particularly with people, like one-on-one, that I was like this. I haven't felt, I've been drawn to research for different reasons, but this seems like something that's more sustaining, and that's important. So that was a big one. And then, of course, Dr. Robinson, I definitely agree. Every conversation, every class was great. And then we did a mock interview with some of our classmates. And that, as nerve-wracking as it was, it really sealed the deal for me.
Keener, any thoughts?
No, I love this burgeoning sense of self-efficacy and really just, it's a natural, progression. I guess I also, we've talked a lot on the podcast, Cadie, about planned happenstance. I'm not sure if you've had a career yet or had that in the undergrad where you sort of can plan, and I want to do this at this point in my life, here, and here. But then these chance events sort of happen and lead you. And so again, just kind of talking about that it was sort of fate or whatever that Did you apply at other places? So that's exciting. I guess to me, although I didn't change high schools, my senior year, we had different electives and psych was an elective. And similar to you, it was like, I was just taking it up
Right.
because it wasn't English, it wasn't history, it wasn't math, it wasn't like the
Yep.
same old that I had taken for like 13 years. And so yeah, that's sort of how
Yes.
I fell into
See?
it.
There you go.
I'm jumping around a little bit, and I think I'm going backwards in time. But it's rare that we get somebody on our podcast that's been at Maryville for this long. I feel like we get a lot of people who like were in grad or like undergrad somewhere else or like years ago. It's very rare.
Besides
Thoughts
you.
on Maryville? Yeah, exactly. Besides me, I was like, I'm talking to myself. This is great. Finally,
Yeah.
I want to know your thoughts about Maryville. What have your experiences been like so far? At least for undergrad.
For undergrad, I mean, they took care of me in the most like general way. Whenever I was like shopping around for colleges, so to speak, I knew I didn't want anything big. I really liked a smaller class size. Keener knows this, but I'm definitely one to ask questions, raise my hand. I want to be able to build a relationship. And when I toured Maryville, right when I got here, the size of the campus, the closeness of each building, not having to walk a mile to class. And then, of course, the 20-to-1 ratio, just support throughout. I've really never had like a terrible experience with a professor or something that really just kind of skewed my image of Maryville. So it's hard to say, well, I'm not sugarcoating, but it is true. As I've progressed as my time here, I've really been involved a lot, and that's really helped with my sense of belonging and just feeling a sense of community here. But as part of that, you get a lot of information that a lot of other students maybe are not exposed to, and just understanding that Maryville does have pain points, even if it's not directly impacting students. There are, per usual, always areas for improvement, but I think Maryville does a really good job at being transparent with students about what our goals are, what we're trying to do, and being honest about pain points as well. As like, we've started at one point, but we're putting effort in to exceed in other areas.
You mentioned getting involved, and you mentioned your involvement with Res Life, and I'm fairly certain that you're like involved with like NAMI as well, which didn't even know that Maryville had their own. Is that new? Maybe I'm slow.
No, it is brand new. I brought it to Maryville's campus just back in August of last year. So
okay, well, yeah. let's come back to that. What do you mean you brought it? I want to know more.
So I started volunteering. NAMI has a NAMI St. Louis branch, and they're about 10 minutes from Maryville's campus. And last summer, I applied, I guess, so to speak, for a volunteer position with them, where it's called Ending the Silence is the program. And they go around to that program specifically. We go around to schools anywhere from 5th grade to 12th grade. It's about an hour presentation, about the length of a standard middle school class. There'll be a presentation about 45 minutes where we're really emphasizing advocacy, ending the stigma, normalizing mental health and the ups and downs of it. And then my role specifically is I come in and I share my personal story about my mental health journey. When I started kind of struggling, what I did to fix it, what I did to cope, and what I did to just, kind of shift my mindset. That's really what my speech focuses on. And I just share my story. I actually did one last week, and it's always interesting how kids interpret your message. But I had a little girl ask me if I wanted a hug afterwards. It was 5th grade class. No. It was a 5th grade class, yes. And she's so sweet. And I was like, yes, of course. But yeah, it's great. Well, I got that role secured. And then in my interview or kind of introduction to the office members at NAMI St. Louis, I let them know that I was at Maryville University and I was getting ready to start my graduate program. And they presented the opportunity to bring NAMI on campus. It was very new. They had one at a St. Louis high school and one at STLCC Forest Park. that had just gotten up and running, and they presented the opportunity to bring it to Maryville, and I was so eager. Within the week, I was getting the ball rolling, setting everything up, going through the processes, the procedures. But yeah, we just actually recently were awarded the new organization of the year. So super exciting stuff. But yeah, it's been a really great year.
That is so cool. I'm hoping that like I'll like clip this and I'll send it to NAMI so like they have their own little commercial. Yeah, I'm catching up on that because I was like, I'm pretty sure that we never had that whenever I was in school. So I just think that that's really cool.
Thank you.
Dr. Keener, I feel like I'm hogging all the questions. I apologize. I've had 3 energy drinks today, so that's kind of why I'm the way I am today.
Do it.
Ask away. I'm learning too. It's interesting. Maybe this is the fun part of doing a podcast because we do break down the walls of each of us. But I guess one question I had, Cadie, what would it look like if we had a student organization for the program? What have you learned from NAMI, or what would you want to see from? Because Brayton, we can talk all you want. Because Brayton was our student org president.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you're GA, you sort of become the student org president.
No election needed.
That's part of the jobs. But anyway, what did you like?
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. I think a good example of it, at least of an organization that's still active on campus, is the PT Club. And it's super broad. It's anybody ranging from freshman to a 6th-year doctoral student who are active in the club. And I think what they do, they like pair a freshman and a 5th or 6th year up, and it's kind of like a mentorship. And I think that's something that could be replicated, but definitely something focused to cohorts or even just cohorts combined. I mean, I think you could also kind of channel this toward senior psychology, sociology students, letting them know, just simply advertising the program and the organization as a part of it.
Well, let's chat more about that offline. But did you know Brayton started as a PT? So he is
really
more happenstance. And he did his own career journey to come to us as well.
And it's funny that you're describing the whole PT thing because I did have a 6th year. What was his name? I had like 2 6th year students that really kind of took me under their wing. And even when I left PT to go towards counseling, they were really supportive of that move. So I love that you're mentioning this is a funny full circle moment. I want to know about Res Life. How did that enter the mix?
I have been working with Res Life since my freshman year. All 5 years I have.
This is the first.
I'm here. I know, right? I'm here. Don't worry. Keep talking.
Yeah, so all 5 years I've been involved. It started my freshman year as a front desk worker, just being eligible for work study and having a job that I'm able to do homework at is great. I stayed in that role up until my junior year. Throughout the time, I had several supervisors and other RAs asking me kind of like, why are you not an RA? Or when are you going to become an RA? At the time, I was living off campus and I didn't need on-campus housing. And that's like the main perk of it. That's your form of payment. So it was just like, well, it's not really necessary. Until the end of my junior year, my living situation changed and I was put in the position where I need on-campus housing. Not being from St. Louis, I can't commute in that sense. I finally applied to be an RA. Lucky for me, I was kind of late in the game, but I had 3 years of experience with Res Life. So I was granted an application and I went through the standard interview process and then I was hired. It was my senior year, so I was kind of lucky. They like to hire people who are going to be around for a couple more years. I got lucky. I served as an RA in one of the Hilltop apartments for 1 year. And then once I was accepted into the program, I applied for the graduate assistantship for Res Life and got accepted. I accepted the offer and here we are.
This is slightly off topic, but what do you think of the gnome hunts? Do you hide the gnomes as RA or do you get to find them? What's the story there? Do you get to get
Me
the gifts?
and Holly, the other graduate assistant, we are in charge of hiding the gnome for Res Life specifically. Last year I hid it and To be totally honest, it was found within a day and I was kind of butthurt. So I asked Holly to hide it this year. So Holly hid it and it took about until the third day and somebody ended up finding it. But yeah, so we do hide it. It's very interesting. We aren't the ones who painted it. It's been painted years ago, but yes, we do hide it each year.
This is so fun. I totally forgot about the gnome hunts. This is like all coming back to me. This is so crazy.
Yes.
I'm understanding a little bit more what you mean about like Maryville kind of like taking care of you. Like, I mean, you're giving kind of a laundry list of like times in which they really kind of pull through, and that's so cool. It's so cool to hear.
Yes.
Maybe this is a loaded question, but this is kind of the meat of I think what we wanted to chat about, which was this transition to now. You know, this transition from undergrad to grad school. What has that been like for you? Has it been difficult, fairly easy? Has it been like?
I will say, I think because of my undergrad experience with Maryville, I think I do have a little bit of a leg up on adjusting. It wasn't particularly difficult, but I think the biggest thing is just not having in-person class. That's the basis of a lot of, at least Maryville's program. I mean, you can take online courses, but typically the bulk of your course load, you're going to be having class twice a week in person. And it's been interesting, but the Zoom classes, they kind of make up for it in a sense. It's not the same, and I know Dr. Keener and I have talked about this recently, but it does fill that void at least partially. But I think the biggest thing that has been an adjustment is the lack of structure, kind of forcing increased discipline. It's you work your way kind of through undergrad, even coming from high school to undergrad. The reins are loosened a little bit. You have a little bit more wiggle room, so to speak. But once, especially with a fully online program, the work that's done outside of class, you're fully responsible for it. And moving at an 8-week pace definitely magnifies the need for that very structured discipline, because it's easy to kind of fall behind when we're moving this quickly.
I do want to give a little shout out, our second cohort 2, and Cadie came to give sort of the first year student experience, and I don't know if it was her only piece of advice, but she suggested that the students really get a study schedule or a work schedule and really flat out your time. And I think that's, like, I hear that from you in multiple ways, right? Like, you have that increased independence. And so, okay, let's just get it on because nobody's going to be watching you, but also just that extra flexibility, or again, being in grad school, so many people have multiple demands.
Right.
Just sort of is essential. I mean, I guess that struck me as, yeah, you should be doing that.
Yes, definitely.
I remember there was something really validating about going into grad school for counseling, because now all of a sudden all my classes are very relevant, and they're over things that are actually interesting to me, and so that made studying a lot more helpful, because I was just intrinsically motivated to learn more. And I'm curious if you had, sounds like you had a very similar experience so far of getting that.
Absolutely.
What classes have been highlights so far for you? I know that we're early in the program, but
so many. Ethics is a big one. That one is, you're not going to escape that. Addictions was another one, because we're in that course, we weren't only talking about addictions from a serving the client point of view, but also the relevance of addiction among counselors and healthcare providers in general.
Yeah.
So those were two big ones. I also want to shout out Dr. Keener's research methods class, because because Dr. Keener will always say, I'm not searching for compliments, but having that passion for research and coming to a field like counseling, I do think there is a kind of lack of awareness about how relevant research is within the counseling field. And that was highlighted throughout the entire course. And it really kind of highlighted that effective practice is rooted in research. So,
well, I need to go finish somebody's grades right now. I'll be, let me be right back.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, wait, we just talk about ethics. So we don't know. We won't. Right. I'll stay on board.
Yeah, but it's been great.
Since we're talking about ethics, this isn't your first rodeo with, or not ethics, geez. Since we're talking about research, this isn't your first rodeo with research. You've done some research before, I think.
Yes.
Fill us in on that.
Yeah. So I did 3 separate research courses throughout undergrad. Well, I guess in addition to research methods. But my junior year, I actually took senior seminar with Dr. Peter Green. It's your standard senior capstone. You conduct a full study, you send a survey out, collect data, analyze the data. From there, I moved for my senior year. I took independent research for both semesters. The first semester that I took it, I did the same thing I did in senior seminar, where I conducted a full study, sent out a survey, collected, analyzed data, all the things. But that second semester of independent research, I was actually preparing to take both of those previous studies to the Midwestern Psychological Association conference in Chicago, or MPA. So me and Dr. Grant really put a lot of effort into getting those posters ready, and we had them ready. We took them to Chicago, and I was able to present, and that was amazing. Yeah, I was just kind of in awe the entire time there. But it was great. It was great.
I'm jealous, first of all, that in so many ways, my undergrad experience was not, I was part-time. I didn't really feel not that I didn't feel connected, but it's like, man, I wish I would have done that, Anyways, so.
Well, I do think that you're touching on something that I am curious about, though, which is that, like, these things aren't just kind of like thrown at you, right? I mean, you do kind of pursue these opportunities, and a lot of what you're kind of telling us are these opportunities that you went out of your way to pursue. And all I'm curious about is, like, how did you end up like this? Like, you clearly have a drive to pursue these opportunities. Like, did you have a mentor that you kind of model off of? Have you just always kind of been like this?
That's a fantastic question. And the answer to the have I always been like this is definitely a no. High school was not great, but once I got to college, I knew that I really didn't want to repeat the same experience I had in high school. So I was really committed to kind of getting involved on campus. That's something I didn't do in high school. And also really focusing on my grades, because that's another thing that could have been better in high school. When I got here, my life coach, Kirby Cooper, was definitely a saving grace. And then I had a English professor that actually kind of recruited me to become a English tutor, was Dr. Christina Branson. And she really changed my kind of trajectory from Maryville. She was a big reason I picked up the English minor. She's really the only reason I got into tutoring. I would have never had the confidence in myself to think, I think I'm skilled enough to do this. But she gave me kind of the faith and confidence in myself that maybe this is something I could help people through. And then Dr. Grant, I have to shout out Dr. Grant. Statistics the first time around was not easy for me. Oh man, it was rough. Yes, exactly. And I took it with Dr. Grant and the countless, I think every day for a full semester, I was seeing her in office hours, having her help me like walk through a problem. And by the end of it, it was like research. Look how fun and great it is. And she really shifted my perspective. And I wouldn't have even known about MPA were it not for her and helping me prepare the poster and critique it. She put in countless hours in helping me getting that poster ready. And I know she does it continuously with other students. And I wouldn't have any of those experiences had it not been with her. So those three are definitely some solid ones that helped me push through these past 5 years.
And just listening to that, and then just knowing our interactions, there is something where you just you have this curiosity or willingness, and you just ask, well, how can I get on the podcast? How can I network? Or how can I do where? So, sometimes I always say, sometimes we just need to ask people because maybe they just didn't know to say yes, but if you flipped it around, sometimes you just need to ask, right?
Exactly.
Hey, I want to know more or do more. And I know I got done saying that I was sort of, part-time all through undergrad, and then, master's was working. And then finally, when I got the PhD, I told myself, I'm finally going to be a student. and just
Yes.
I'm going to, my job is going to be a student and just sort of throw myself into university life. And
Yeah.
that was sort of like, yes, I'm going to go to the free speaker series and do this, or, like talk to people, meet people.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
guess I see that as
Well,
well.
thank you. Yes. Yeah.
I'm thinking of so many things. First of all, Kirby. I went to school. I was at Maryville the same time that Kirby was. So this is just a weird. Everything you've said so far has been like a weird like flashback of like, whoa, oh my God. Like, Dr. Keener, did you have another question? Any other?
Well, I guess, to me, mentor moments, and going back to the idea of like a student org for clinical mental health counseling, and really just you mentioned, how can we better connect? I'm using the word connect, but mentor first year cohort and second year cohort, and then that extra layer that we're virtual, so.
Yes.
But again, I just thought that was another, okay, yeah, here's this term of mentoring, or now you're returning the favor of what you've sort of experienced. And
Yes.
I don't know if I have a question there, but I just sort of, if we do continue this conversation, maybe that's a nice, what are there better ways to connect both cohorts, or even just inter-cohort? It's almost like within group and against group, right? If we're right, like, so how can we increase engagement within cohorts and across cohorts?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe it's a loaded question, because sometimes I think chronologically, I think of like, okay, we're catching up on your story, we're getting your story now, and then future focused. And so then I think it's okay if you don't know the answer because we're early, but what do you want to do? Are you finding a niche? Like, is there a population that you feel really called to work with?
That it's like a loaded question, partially. I think, practicum starts next week, and I'm really looking forward to the, career guidance or kind of career insight that is going to offer. To be totally honest, right now, I know more about what I don't want to do.
I love that answer. Yep.
So yeah, I know I don't really, the biggest one is I don't want to do family and couples counseling. Personally, just not for me. I have some past biases. I just don't think it's the best fit. Grief counseling is also one that I am not particularly interested in. Maybe if I become a more seasoned counselor, maybe later in my career, but to start off, that's definitely a heavy load. I really like the college age population, or kind of age range. I have thought about, if anything later in my career, working as a counselor on a college campus, but I currently work in community mental health, and I have found that fulfilling. So I do think that's likely where I will start. I think that's pretty standard. But yeah, as I progress, I'm kind of open to the wind. I do have a minor interest in addictions counseling. The addictions course that we took was definitely insightful. So it, there was a slight sense of, I don't want to say hesitation, but just kind of need to build up to that. I think, we'll see, I suppose.
And I think the sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, you have all the good questions today.
I'm on it. I'm telling you, it's 3 energy drinks. Maybe
I know
that's the key.
Wait, are you in a flow state right now too? Or?
I mean, yeah, I'm not even sitting. I've been floating here. I don't even have a chair underneath me. What was the thing? Yeah, the hesitancy in the answer, I think, is the answer, which is like, now is the time to not really know and to figure out. And you would think that, okay, if I'm going to go work with just kids, then it's only going to be just kid stuff. But all this other stuff ends up entering the mix. So you think like, I'll never touch addictions counseling until I'm in a rehabilitation center. You'll get a kid that's addicted to hitting their vape, and now you're getting into stuff like that. So it all does kind of end up morphing together. So yeah, I do appreciate that. Yeah, this is the time to learn. You're doing practicum soon? Where is your practicum at?
I am at Diversified Health and Wellness for the next 16 weeks. It's in Kirkwood, I believe.
Diversified Health and Wellness. Bridget?
Yep.
McGuire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bridget is.
Yes. Yeah.
Connecting the dots. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. That was my question. Thanks, Dr. Keener.
Well, I guess, Cadie, you've been, we were all students almost our entire life, right? So my assumption is we get comfortable, or we know what it means to be a student, right? So we know sort of how to complete courses, at least most of us do, right? Or we at least know, okay, there's tests, there's projects, whatever, groups, or what's fun for me in practicum and internship is now seeing students having to stop that. Like that's ending, right? And that you're really blossoming into a professional and to sort of see, I know what it's like to be a student. I'm really not sure what it's like to be a professional. So I guess, I don't know, what are you excited about maybe practicum and then that next phase? And, I guess how are you preparing for that?
Yeah, I think the most exciting part is just being able to take the past years worth of learning and being able to translate it into practice, into the foundation of our professionalism. There's some unease to it as well, thinking I'm only a year into this. Are we sure we're ready? But I think circling back to the other half of that question of like, how am I preparing? And I think one, again, the resources that are being shared, the counseling workbook, the kind of like skill sheet and the module, or I don't know what to call it, method, but the practice of it. Here's how I think I would respond to this, and I get some feedback kind of honing in that response and kind of heightening it for what I could possibly say in practice. Videos are always helpful as well. I know in Dr. Bertolino's courses, those were very common, of just watching other people counsel. And luckily enough, I'm in therapy myself, and that's very insightful. Just being able to see how someone is working with me and understanding like what things work for me and what things, what coping mechanisms or thought processes might be beneficial for people that I'll see during practicum and later in my career as well.
It just warms my heart hearing all that.
Oh my God.
The longer I teach, the more I'm interested in not necessarily the answer, but the thought behind the answer. So sort of that, students' metacognition, and how are they thinking and how are they responding? And just listening to you talk about how you're preparing, obviously then if you're thinking about preparing, you're doing that metacognition piece and putting the puzzle pieces together. And, it's kind of like counseling when you're working with somebody. We're a little arrogant if we think only the change happens in that 50-minute period, right? And it really happens outside of that. And so it's like teaching. We have 2.5 hours together once a week, but then how are you taking that? And I don't know if I actually said it in your class. A thing I commonly say, if learning only happens in the classroom, we haven't done our job. Like we need to take it outside of the classroom, right? So
yes,
there's my mentor moment. Make sure we take that learning outside of the Zoom box here.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's been beneficial. I think one thing that this program does really well is balance reflection with application of like understanding why this is important, but also being able to execute it in practice.
Mentor moment time? Does this feel like the right time?
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. I don't know if I told Cadie that you need to have the take-home moment. What's your mentor moment? What do you want?
We end every episode with that's the whole shtick. That's the whole thing, is that every episode we end with our guest giving like a piece of advice, maybe some homework for our listeners. I don't know, a nugget of wisdom from your experiences, putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What would you tell people?
Okay. I would say get used to stepping outside of your comfort zone and understand how beneficial it can be. New things are scary, but there is no better lesson than experience.
That's good.
It's awesome.
Isn't that great? Let me
cut.
I'm cutting it right now. That's perfect.